Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I am your host, Emily Hayden, and currently I am in Utah recording with a guest that I've been very excited about to have on the show because the guest that I have on today is somebody who I see as someone observing from the outside in is just stoked to live their life. And you guys, I've been loving the podcast that I've been doing this year. Every single guest that I've had on has been absolutely incredible. And, you know, part of my heart and intention for sharing this with you guys is to share that energy of what it's like to create a life that you truly love and that you don't actually have to escape from, because I believe it's something that not just we can do and the people that I'm bringing on, but I really believe that every single person can create that in their own life. So today we have on film director, family man, and overall badass, Heber. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited. So please tell the audience why we are both freezing and my voice is shaking.
Well, you messaged me and said, hey, we should cold plunge. And I said, okay, well, we could do like the typical cold plunge, or there's this spot that I like to go to here in a river in Utah. And it also happens to be one of the coldest days of the year. And I was not anticipating how much snow was on the ground. So we went and we river cold plunged. It was one of the colder cold plunges I've ever done. So I feel really alert and really cold still.
Oh, I feel super clear and focused, and also a little freezing from my toes to my fingers to my brain. It's pretty funny. We actually got to do a slide. I've always wanted to sled. We got a little bit of a sled.
Sled into the water.
I'm like, I'll just follow you down. And all of a sudden I start just sliding. I'm like, sorry, I'm coming. So while we're on the topic, cold plunging, when did you start cold plunging, and why do you cold plunge, and what are some of the benefits that you enjoy from it?
Ooh, I think so. When I was little, I had Raynaud's in my hands, and they probably still do. Like the blood capillaries in my fingers would shut down anytime I got into cold water.
No way.
And so, yeah. So like I did a half Ironman one time back in a long time ago. And during the swim, my hand stopped working. Like I couldn't paddle because my fingers wouldn't come together to create like a cup like you're supposed to when you swim. So I swam like the last 400 meters of the swim with my hands not able to close. And when I got out of the water, they made me like stall the race till I warmed up and was able to go again. And I remember thinking like, that's something I need to work on. And I like the mental challenge of getting into cold things. And so I don't remember exactly when I started. I know at one point I was in Iceland and I drove to a glacier so that I could get into water that was a glacier runoff. And then another friend of mine there, Thuri, I had heard she would swim in the ocean there in 2 degrees Celsius water, which is like 35-degree water. So I was like, hey, I want you to take me. And so we went and we swam about a half mile around this little volcanic rocks. And then you get out and you go into they have this whole thing. And she was like, it's not just me. She's a top CrossFit Games athlete, but there was a bunch of like old ladies swimming, like
no way,
like 50 to 60, 70-year-old women that were doing this with us. And I was like, this is awesome. This is so good. Like, what a weird culture thing to do.
Right.
But I loved the way I felt after it. And so, anytime I've been able to do it, I love getting into cold water. A couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to get my hands on an actual cold plunge. And so now I do it every single day. Mm-hmm. First thing when I wake up, I get in the water. I spend anywhere from 90 seconds to 3 minutes in the morning. And then I try to do a second one a little later in the afternoon.
Let me tell you what, you guys, that cold plunge in Utah where it's already freezing is another level, right? Because I started using my cold plunge in Texas. We don't have snow. It's not freezing outside, like it drops below, 50 and we're all like, can't go outside. So the guys and the women that cold plunge when you're already freezing, I just give you guys extra props. So I pat on my own back because we just did a river cold plunge. So maybe I'm.
How do you feel about
joining? I feel stoked. Cold plunging is one of those things that, I was talking with another friend, Joseph Sheehy. He's the owner of Cured Nutrition. And we were both looking back on our previous year. And we were saying that cold plunging is the one daily practice that we can look back to and say that it really had a really dramatically positive impact on our lives. And it's interesting how something as small as like getting in the cold can really develop you in so many ways, in your mindset, your strength, how you're able to overcome difficult circumstances that maybe seem really stressful, even your stress response, like in the fight or flight method, you know, the response that you have. So it's been really, really incredible.
Yeah. And then the dopamine dump that you get on top of that.
Yeah. Cannot, say enough about that. Yeah. It's really incredible. And that for me, you know, the mental health aspect of it has been crucial too. So, okay, we kind of dove right into cold plunging, but for people that don't really know who you are or what you do, can you give them just like a little tidbit into your life?
Okay, so for 10 years, I worked for the company CrossFit. I was a part of their media team, did all kinds of stuff from producing television shows for ESPN to feature-length documentaries.
Wow.
And eventually in 2018, we parted ways and I started my own YouTube channel with a good friend of mine, Arson Sawyers, and we launched a channel called the Buttery Bros. And now we do that basically full time. So we basically just dream up what sounds really fun to do, who are fun people to go work out with. We travel the world. We try to do, I like to think of it as adventure tourism with a foundation of fitness and pancakes. And so,
oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm so in.
So
count me in.
That's my day job. Yeah.
That's so dope. Okay. So take me back to the idea of this. When the idea first started and you're like, hey, we should start a YouTube channel. Did you guys already have a vision for like in 5 years, this is what the vision is? Or did you just start throwing videos up?
No, we actually started it as a way to, so we were trying to do another documentary about CrossFit because the sport was changing dramatically. And the athletes had really given us a lot as individuals in helping us make the CrossFit movies that I had made for CrossFit. And I knew CrossFit wasn't going to be doing that. And so I wanted to give back to them by featuring them in another movie because that had a really positive impact in their lives. And so we set out to make a movie, and then I was like, let's just film the behind the scenes and put that on a YouTube channel. And we didn't know what we were going to call it. We had filmed a full episode, and we were about to go to this event called Wadapalooza in Miami. We were actually there at the event in the hotel room about to film a whole bunch of stuff for a documentary that year. And I remember texting my wife and saying like, hey, I want you to help me come up with a design, a logo. And I have this idea of a piece of butter melting on pancakes saying like, ooh. And so, so she like drew up this little thing and she sent it over and we launched our first video. And I remember thinking like, oh, maybe in a couple of weeks, like maybe we'll be able to monetize this or maybe a couple months. But it wasn't like, oh, this is our goal that we're going to do this. And in 6 months, we're going to have this. It was, hey, let's just throw this up and see what happens. And within a week, we had 20,000 subscribers. Within, we hit like the hours watched that you needed to have to be monetized, but before like the end of the day, and the subscribers that you needed, which I think at the time was 1,000.
Right.
So it just kind of like exploded. And I remember the next day we were walking around that event and people were already referring to us as, hey, that's the Buttery Bros. And
no way.
It just like hit really well. Wow. And we just kind of hit that, like we kept that momentum going throughout the next couple of shows that we produced. And within, I think after the second one, I was like, I think we can get brands to want to be a part of this. Instead of wanting them to be a part of our documentary, we could keep that white labeled and keep the rights to that, but then put whatever people that want to back us into supporting us through the Buttery Bros YouTube.
Wow. How cool. Is there anything that you can look back to about that first video that you could say this is what made it pop off? Do you think it was like well-timed? Do you think it was the quality of the content? Do you think it was the relevancy? Like, why do you think that video did so well?
I think there's a lot of things. Definitely the timing of it was really cool because no one had really put out anything good in the last, like at that time, like 4 months, which doesn't seem like a long time, but there was a lot of questions about what was going to happen with CrossFit at the time because of the direction that the company was going, and they were changing a whole lot of stuff. So the community was behind it. The content were really like, I'm a proficient video editor. My business partner, Martian, is really good as well. And we have a really good friendship between him and I. And then the first episode was doing a workout in Matt Fraser's garage. And so the workout was called Acid Bath. And so they titled it Acid Bath in Matt Fraser's garage, which is a very clickbaity title. Like, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Matt Fraser is. And the content like itself, like there was a good story, which is super important. And there was a really authentic friendship and you felt like you were part of a journey when you were watching it. And so I think immediately, I think that's why it popped off so well.
Have you always been a storyteller?
I've always been a big fan of movies.
Okay.
And I didn't know that I didn't really like documentaries. I just liked films. Like I love going to the cinema and seeing big, exciting stories, good versus evil. And I've loved that my entire life. And so,
were there any movies in particular that were like an inspiration for you?
Well, there's tons. Like growing up, I loved. I mean, yeah, there's a lot.
Hard to choose.
Yeah, it's hard to choose.
Were you more into like documentary style or sci-fi, or is there like a genre?
Well, I think
went to.
Yeah, not documentary at all until maybe recently, but definitely like in high school, some of the more impactful films, and this will date me, but like Fight Club had come out.
Yes.
And that was a huge impact for me. And the other one that was really impactful for my like storytelling abilities was Memento.
I don't know that one.
Which is this great. So Christopher Nolan is like this big cinema director now, and that was his first breakout film back in 2001 or something like that.
Okay, wow.
But it's a really cool story that's not told chronologically. It's told backwards and forwards, which sounds really weird, but it makes sense when you see it.
Oh, that's really cool.
But the editing in that was like, oh, there's way more ways to tell a story than just A to B.
I love that so much. And it's funny because, you know, I'm a baby YouTuber. I just documented my journey. I wasn't creating these beautiful, you know, stories like you guys per se. But when I started editing my own content and creating my own videos, I started to kind of be more observant when I would watch videos, and even just like the camera angle where I'm like, wow, that's such a cool way to show that shot, and, you know, paying attention to it. I don't know. I just started becoming a nerd about all that stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so I love getting to see all of that, but I love getting in your brain and figuring out like where this started, because now you're fully like in your flow, in your element, you know, you're stoked to live life every single day. So talk to me about, you know, years before that, before you were into the YouTube journey and doing it for yourself. Were you ever in that spot in life where like you're working a lot every day and you just had this feeling that like maybe there was something more or something different for you? Or what was that journey like for you?
I don't think I ever was like deep in a cubicle and being like, oh man, what else is out there for me?
Right.
Like, I think I was always just excited about what I was doing. I remember
cool.
like graduating college, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the goal wasn't to make documentaries. It wasn't to work for a fitness company. It wasn't anything like this. It was, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to make big budget movies. I want to make action movies. Like, dream scenario, I would be directing Mission Impossible 8, you know, like that's
what's up.
You know, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And then I was like, but there's this CrossFit thing and I really enjoy this. I want to kind of dive into that. And weirdly enough, speaking of movies that impacted me, The Social Network had just come out, and Mark Zuckerberg leaves the East Coast and Harvard and goes to Palo Alto and that part of the world to start really diving into Facebook. And Eduardo Severin, his business partner, stays back east, and he gets kind of screwed out of the deal. And I remember I was working as a contractor for CrossFit, and it was just kind of really starting to grow. And I remember thinking, like, I don't want to be the Eduardo Severin in the situation where I'm not a part of the community and a part of the big decisions because I'm not in the right part of the country. And so I moved to California so that I would be more central based to that community and to that to their headquarters and department. But I did spend like the first year and a half, 18 months working my butt off, like 9 a.m. till 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
All day for like weeks to get like shows done for them. And by the end of producing 2 years of television for them, I was like, I don't want to ever do anything like that again, because I don't like this. And so if you're continuing to ask me to do that job, I'm not going to work here anymore. And to their credit, they gave me a lot of creative freedom. And from there, I was able to go do really cool things. But I was always stoked about the work that I was doing there.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. And I think it's cool to look back on your journey and see the steps that led you to where you're at now. So now what's your YouTube subscriber count at right now?
It's north of 180,000, something like that.
And how long have you had the channel?
We just had 4 years.
4 years. That's incredible. And how many videos do you guys typically produce or put out right now?
We have been on track to be producing 1 episode a week for the last year.
Wow, that's a lot. And what does the back end of that look like in terms of, making the backside production happen, like scheduling the shoot, the ideas, the creation for the shoot? What does that entail?
Every video is sort of different. So like our last, like, I'm going to say last 5 videos, including the one that I'm editing right now, are all vastly different. So we went to, I actually met you briefly at the Olympia in Vegas, and we had planned this massive shoot back in August, and from August until we were shooting, where we brought together a bunch of our teammates from the Rain energy drink, and had them go head to head in a bunch of challenges. So we called that the Buttery Games. So
cool.
We had 7 teams of 2, and you have like Kai Green partnered with the CrossFit athlete Carrie Pierce, and then the fittest man on earth, Justin Medeiros, with some ballerina, Sophia Rose, WWE superstar Natalie Eva Marie and her husband Jonathan Coyle, and then Thor and his wife have Thor Bjornsson. So you have
so cool.
This massive cast, and they're doing like non-strongman thing. So you have like Thor doing Ninja Warrior obstacle courses.
No way.
And off-road racing, and a CrossFit workout, and then a truck pull. So we have all these fun things that we have, and that's 3 episodes. And that took a lot of pre-production and a lot of coordinating on the day. And then we put a lot of energy in the post-production on that. So we finished filming, then uploading videos throughout the shoot. And then we have an assistant editor who's building a rough cut of that. A graphics guy, Julian, who also helps us film, who's then building out motion graphics. So it looks really professional and sleek. And then we hired another editor on that one as well. And then once the editors get through it and Julian has graphics, I go through a rough pass of an episode, and then Marsden, my business partner, will finish and flesh it all out.
Wow.
And so that's what that episode was. But then like we go to Wadapalooza, which we had just finished. We're still actually in the middle of editing those Buttery Games episodes. So we don't really have a plan for what we're doing at Wadapalooza, and we just kind of shoot from the hip and make something kind of fun as we go. And then same type of thing where we're uploading that footage to an assistant editor who does a rough cut, and then we flesh it out from there. So it varies from shoot to shoot, project to project. And sometimes some of the better content comes from
non-planning,
but having like sort of a spine going into it, if that makes sense. So this is kind of our through line, but we're going to kind of figure it out as we go.
I love that you say that, because, my audience knows right now I'm on this little journey. I'm in van life right now, doing a 3-week road trip. And the whole theme of it is just like, I'll just figure it out as I get there, and I do, I like providing time and space for spontaneity, because within that, I've been able to meet new friends and connect with people that I probably wouldn't have connected with had I had this set plan, or even like this last weekend, I went snowboarding for the first time, and that was so incredible. I just returned my gear, but I'm actually buying gear now.
Heck yeah.
After this, I'm going to buy some. I'm hooked. I'm so hooked. And had I been like, okay, on this day I'm going here, on this day I'm going here, I would have already left. And here I am like, I ain't leaving. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So you actually,
Utah.
Yeah, right. Honestly, man, I'm falling in love with Utah. I love it here. I get it now. Like, I get it.
Don't tell anyone though.
I know.
It's too crowded at the canyons already.
Park City sucks. Utah sucks. Salt Lake City sucks. Just splice that up. I'll have a bunch of Utah.
Go to Colorado.
Yeah. No kidding. Okay. So you're married, you have children. Tell me, how long have you and your wife been together, and tell me about your children and family life as a whole. How has being a husband and a dad impacted just you as a person in this like human experience that we have?
It's first and foremost, right? Like it's the most important thing. I've been married now 13 and a half years, 14 this summer.
Wow.
I have 2 kids, 2 boys. They're 8 and 7. My youngest just turned 7 today. We're filming this.
Ooh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Finley. And they are, like everything I'm doing is to build a better life for them and for us as a family. And so like, because I travel quite a bit for work, and I try to, anytime that I'm home or I have a stretch of period, I try to at least build or plan for activities that will build memories that they'll last for a lifetime. So like,
I love that.
Last year we were fortunate enough we went to Hawaii twice. We went to Kauai in April, and they were able to do this big adventure with me where we hiked through. I had paddled the Nepali coast on one day, and then they joined me for a 5-mile walk with a whole bunch of kids there to help raise money for the Kiala Foundation there. And then the next day they helped me finish the hike, which was up to the highest point of Kauai. And that took us, that was like a 52 total mile journey. And they were able to join me for like 12 miles of it over the course of 2 days, which was awesome.
That's incredible.
And so they remember that, right? Like that's a core memory for them. And then we went back because they were really pissed that they couldn't do the entire walk with me. And they were like, Dad, we could have done it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, there's a 10K in Kauai with this same group of people in September. Do you want to go? And they're like, yeah, and we'll do the whole run. And so they did. They came in, they did the whole run with me.
That's incredible. Good for them.
My wife's a saint for putting up with me and,
and the boys. Yeah.
And she joined us for the whole thing. And so now we have this cool, like little family memory of doing these cool adventures in Hawaii. And we also were able to go to Disney World for a week last summer as part of my work, which was,
cool.
I try to make work a vehicle to incorporate the closest people I have to me to create awesome memories and do really cool stuff.
That's so beautiful. And I think it's a really good perspective to have, because I think sometimes we can go throughout life and get really sucked into the pattern of like, okay, we go to college and then we graduate and then we do this and then we do that. And sometimes people get so focused on work that they forget the most important part of life, which I think is relationships and connection and your family and those most intimate, relationships, your children, your wife, your kids. So I love that you're able to incorporate just everything across the board. And I think when you're able to integrate what you do, what you're passionate about, what excites you with the people that are the closest to you, I think that's when you're like really winning.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah. So, okay, talk to me a little bit about your journey when it comes to incorporating faith into your life, and just how has that played a role in your life, and how does that help you through navigating the challenges that life throws at us?
Yeah, faith's interesting. Like, I do need to be better about putting it as a more of a forefront in my life, but I think taking time to pray about decisions that you're making that are big is something that I think people take lightly and don't do enough. Like I think letting prayer kind of be your guiding light especially in big decisions. Like I remember we're starting this journey when I was leaving CrossFit. I was very nightly and daily praying about what I needed to be doing with my life. And waiting for small answers that comes from our Father in heaven to guide you to make the right decisions, to put you in the right place. And then feeling his answers by knowing like, oh, this is what I needed to be doing. And sometimes you'll take a leap of faith and think like, oh, this might not work. And then, it hits and you're like, oh, that, that's where he wanted me to be. And there's reasons for what you're doing. And you might not always understand why you're doing what you're doing, but remembering that our Father in heaven has a plan for you and knows where you need to be and what you should be doing in life.
I love that answer so much, because I feel like I've really lived that out in my life. I even think about thoughts I've had or ideas I've had. For example, last year, this exact time, sitting on my couch after like a 12-hour workday, like not reposting, but like saving on Instagram, van life type stuff, or these travel things, right? And it's like all these thoughts and ideas of like, maybe I could do this, or that seems like it'd be a lot of fun for me. But then of course that thought process of like, well, you can't because of XYZ, or it's not the right time or whatever. And I look back now that I'm like literally living it, and I'm like, I just genuinely feel that was divine guidance showing me and giving me those ideas and those thoughts. And, I think people have different ways to understand faith or maybe God or whatever it is. But I think that guidance is always there if we're willing and patient enough to listen, and we have the perspective to see.
And ask.
And to ask. Yeah, good. Yeah. And that's the thing is I think sometimes, we live in this society that wants things quickly. And I think sometimes it's hard to be patient or to just allow a place of stillness where we can be receptive to hear those things after we ask. So do you have any sort of daily practices that you incorporate into your life for mindset, even health and fitness, wellness. Like, what are your daily practices? What do those look like?
Ooh, daily practices, back to the cold plunge.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
I love it.
In the cold plunge, I do try to take a minute to focus on breathing. And I feel like that's my moment to pray as well. So when I'm there, cold, freezing, it's very still, especially when it's like it's snowing outside. And usually people aren't awake yet, it's an early morning. And I take that before I go in and answer emails and phone calls and social media stuff, to just kind of get centered a little bit. And then the other daily practices when I'm home is to get time with the kids, try and create memories with them, and then working out. Like working out for me it's my adult recess. Like as little kids, you got to go outside for 15 minutes and play, and then you go back into your schoolwork. But for me, it's like I need 60 minutes to 3 hours to go clear my head before I can do other things. And if I do that, I'm so much more efficient and effective at my job or whatever it is that I have to do that day. And I'm a nicer human being.
Totally.
if I can do those two things. Like if I had to choose between the ice bath and fitness, I'm definitely going to choose fitness, because that to me is where I get more centered in my day.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's one of those things like cold plunging. I love the fact that in 3 minutes or less, you can get a ton of these benefits, right? Yep. Like clarity and all these things. However, as somebody who loves lifting, like I genuinely loved, and it's not just lifting, it's just training and being an athlete. I get a lot of fulfillment from pushing my body, challenging myself, and overcoming things in the gym too. So I definitely agree with you there. What about a nighttime routine, or like how important is like a nighttime routine or sleep? What do you do for those? Do you have a routine? Is it different every night?
It depends on where I am. So if I'm traveling, it's always different.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's evolved over time, because I remember when I was starting this job, and even when I was working other places too, I was always like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I remember, I think I even have a quote that's out there that's like, you can lose sleep worrying, or you can lose sleep working towards your dream. And I lost sleep working towards my dream. I lost sleep doing what I love to do, to be able to get me into a position where I could do more of it. And in 2019, I remember I probably slept an average of like 5.5 hours a night. 2020, I remember being like, oh, everything's shut down. I should make a life goal to sleep 6 hours a night.
I should make a life goal.
And since then I've been like, oh, I think like maybe this is more important. The more I study it, I'm like, this is actually probably the most important thing I could be doing for my health. And so last year it was an average of 7 hours of sleep a night. And now I'm trying to get 7.5, but it's been a rough January, but an awesome January on the other side of that. But so my nighttime routine would be, I actually try to cold plunge earlier in the evening.
So you do it twice?
I do. Yeah.
You do it twice a day.
Yeah. And I don't.
You're special kind of crazy is what you're saying.
I'm psycho.
You're giving us a little peek into your psyche right now.
Yeah. And in the morning, I try to do like a cold shower after the cold plunge. And in the evening, I try to definitely warm up. And if I had a sauna at my house, I would sauna to the point where I'm not cold at all. In fact, I'm sweating. And then I take like a lukewarm shower and go to bed. So when I have access to that, that's what I do.
I mean, I hear that the cold plunge is making saunas. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah. I'm
really excited for that.
I'm supposed to get one soon.
Yeah. That's exciting. So you just went to Japan.
I did.
That's freaking dope. For people that have never been there, don't know what it's like, give us a little bit into your experience. What was it like there?
So this was a bucket list trip for me. This was 10 days with some of my closest friends doing some of the coolest stuff I've ever done. So if you've never been to Tokyo, if you've been to any busy city, this is busier.
Wow, really?
There's 40 million people in this city. So like you go to the suburbs and you're like, oh, wow, this city really sprawls out. In Tokyo, it's not the suburbs that sprawl out. It's just buildings that sprawl out.
Wow.
Like there's more people that live in that city than all of Canada.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? So, but on the flip side of it, like it's super crowded. It's super clean. Like everyone's incredibly respectful, and there's no trash cans anywhere. So if like you drink something, you just got to hold on to it till you find a trash can somewhere at like a private establishment. Like they're not just out on the street, and there's not trash everywhere.
That's blowing my mind right now.
So
especially because, I was in California / am in California.
Yeah, which is
dirty, dirty, and it smells like pee.
Don't go to LA.
So you're saying it doesn't smell like pee?
No, it's clean. Like it's awesome. Okay.
Wow.
And then so that's Tokyo. We spent just 2 days there, which is never enough time. So I've been there before and I want to go. Both times have been really short in Tokyo and lots of other places. So, this time we then took like an hour flight north to a little island called Hokkaido, and then took like a 3-hour bus ride to this little town called Niseko, which is supposed to have the best powder on earth for skiing. And coming from Utah, like on its license plate says best snow on earth. So I was like, well, I'm gonna F around and find out.
Yeah. So, FAFO.
So we got there and we had been having incredible winters here, actually over in Colorado, not here in Utah. But we've had awesome snow here. And when we got there, they had just started having big snowstorms. And so every day we were there, we were skiing on powder snow that was like at least a foot to 2 or 3 feet.
Oh my gosh. I saw that video you posted on Instagram where you come and you stop and you're like waist deep in snow.
Yeah.
That's insane. I don't even understand the snow that much being from Texas. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm like, how do you do that? And then you just keep going.
But
I don't get it.
It depends on the steepness of the mountain. Where
gotcha.
At the end of that video, we're actually kind of stuck. So
stop.
So you have to like hike out. And
Gotcha.
If you're in a snowboard, it can be pretty frustrating.
Oh, that's funny.
So that was that day, and then and every day it was cloudy, snowing, and then finally on 2 days it cleared up. One, we were able to hike up to the top of the resort, which is open apparently very rarely, just long enough to ski down from the top, which was hands down probably my favorite run I've ever done in my life.
In your life.
Ever. And then the second time it was sunny was our last day, which we had booked a helicopter tour. So we were able to go and do a helicopter to the top of this private mountain and ski down it 9 times.
Stop.
So the entire time we were getting untouched snow. It was incredibly awesome.
Like a lifelong dream come true kind of thing.
Yeah.
And was this filmed?
Yes, it is filmed.
And it's going to go on your YouTube channel?
I don't know when this goes out, but it's supposed to.
Right.
This episode, that Buttery Bros show should be dropping 48 hours from now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So it'll be live. So make sure to check out the YouTube channel below. I can't wait to watch that video.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. What would you say is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to mindset for people that are setting big goals for themselves to help them actually open their mind and set those big goals and believe in themselves, and not have such a limited mindset? Because everything that you're talking about here is something that to some people just is the mind-blowing emoji, right? Myself included. But so how can people start to work on their mindset to open it up, to start to believe big and dream big for themselves?
I think you dream big by starting small, which for me, like one of the reasons why I like, we keep going back to the cold plunge, but why I do that first thing is like, I've got a win under my belt already. Like it can't get any worse than sitting in water that's 39 degrees.
It can. We just did it in the river and it was what, like 10 degrees?
Yeah, that was rough. But that was a win, right? So like,
yeah, true.
Check that off your bucket list or your life list. But that's just one example. And that's one thing that I love about fitness is every time you go in, you have small goals that you have to achieve for that day's work to hit a bigger goal, whatever that is. And so finding small things that are really easily attainable so that you're building wins and you're building that momentum. And then once you've done like a couple of weeks of that, like I would say like, okay, find something that you can do this week. All right, now let's go a little bit bigger for week 2. By the end of week 2 or 3, then I would say, okay, let's sit down and look at what do you want to do in a year from now that seems unattainable, but let's work backwards based on the momentum that we've just built and see what we can accomplish by then. And so you start with some momentum, set a really big goal that seems out of control, but you've already seen success behind you. And now what do we need to do to make that happen on a regular basis?
I love that so much. I feel like you just gave us a great roadmap for setting and achieving goals. And what I'm hearing is, building that confidence in yourself that, yes, I can do this. And in a very practical way, you know, I'm renting a van. It's first time doing van life. I didn't really know if I could do it, to be totally honest. Like I drove away from the rental service company and I'm like, they're just going to let me drive this? Are they sure? Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Right. And there's all these things that come with it, like the maintenance and whatnot. And it's so funny. But after doing the first round of maintenance, like filling up the fuel tank, the water line, going to the dump station, like all these things that you have to do, I was low-key nervous about it. I didn't know if I could do it right. I figure it out. I FAFO, you know, I watch YouTube videos, I do it, and I'm going away from like the water station, whatnot. And I'm like, I can do this. And I like feel so empowered in such a funny way, you know? And so I experience what you're saying. Like when you really have those very small wins, it really does empower you to say, okay, I can take the next step.
And now you want to buy a van.
Yep. Now I want to buy a van. It's so true. Because I was open to the fact of I may do this and hate it.
Yeah.
And one of my friends was like, hey, if you hate it, you're in a car, you can literally just drive to my place and, you know, you'll be okay. So I just love it because I feel like it's very practical and it's something that people can start to apply into their lives today. So, okay, you have 2 boys. Thinking about the legacy.
Very similar to leaving the van, like leaving the station with the van and let you take it. That's the same thing leaving the hospital. It's like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I have human responsibilities now.
You know what? I thought about that once.
Manual?
Yeah, totally. No, oh my gosh. My sisters, they sometimes make fun of me because I don't have human children. I just have dogs, which are my children, but it is a little different, I guess. They were like, yeah, well, when you leave, they give you the baby manual and you just gotta read it. And I was like, oh no, wait, that's great. And they're like, Emily, we're joking.
No manual. You're leaving, you're like, does this car seat work?
Yeah. Honestly, that is such a wild concept to me that you can just have a human baby and then you just like leave with a child.
Yeah.
Anyone. Like there's no qualification system. I don't know. I just think it's a wild thing. But speaking of that, what is something that you want to leave behind for your children? Whether it's a thought, a mindset, a legacy, what is something that you hope to leave behind for your boys?
I always tell them, I will ask, oh geez, I'm speaking terribly.
I know, I'm still cold.
Yeah, you're still warming up, guys.
Yeah.
I will ask them this question often to the point where my youngest is like, Dad, you ask me this all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Finley, what's the most important thing? And they know the answer is that I love you. Because for me, I want them to know that I want them to feel loved so that they feel confident so they can feel like they can do and accomplish anything. And so I try to live that through what I'm doing in my quote unquote work, inspiring them and others to feel like they can do that as well. Mm-hmm. That's what I hope that they can, you know, for them, the future is like, there's so much opportunity right now. You just have to figure out what you want to do and figure out how you can turn it into something that can make you money eventually.
Mm-hmm. I love that that's your answer because the world needs more love. And if they are loved on, they are going to be an expression of that. They are going to love as well. What do you think is something that the world, and I kind of want to frame it a different way. Let's frame it in the terms of social media. What do you think would be a positive addition to social media right now, right? Because we talk a lot about, or I feel like we hear a lot about like, you know, there's a lot of negatives to social media. But what do you think that we could do personally to be a part of the positive change on social media?
Well, so with the Buttery Bros, we focus a lot of that because for us, we have a really big format where we produce like a 20 to 40 minute TV show essentially once a week. And
I didn't know it was that long.
They're long.
That's awesome.
They're a full on production.
Wow. That's awesome.
It's very easy to want to be salacious and want to focus on the negative news that's out there. Mm-hmm. And I've stuck pretty hard to, hey, I want this to be a positive thing. I don't want to be known as the guys that are nagging or that are calling out bull crap. Like I want to be, because that's not going to unify and that's not going to inspire and make people want to be better. We want to be the light that's bringing people together in fitness and fun and travel and showing them how much fun this can be. Because a lot of people look at going to the gym as a chore. And for me, it's not. It's very much like I want to go and I almost need to go. Otherwise, I'm kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so for social media specifically, watch what you're liking and watch what you're paying attention to and watch what you're stopping to read. And if it's constantly the negative news that is out there, or you feel the need to leave like a negative comment on someone's social media, like think better of yourself. And then also be conscious about what you're taking in, because when you take in a lot of negative content, that can affect you in a way that you might not want. And so that's
it's pretty wild how even just our social feed can really impact our definition of reality. Even in terms of like, I remember a friend showing me her feed once and I was like, wow, this looks completely different than my feed. And I looked at her feed for a second and it was all this like travel and beauty and all these, different things than what my world was. And I just thought it was interesting that we can have two totally different experiences based on, honestly, ourselves, because the algorithm really does just study what you're liking, what you're consuming, what you're commenting on and reading, and what you're stopping to notice. So yeah, I would just like to kind of reflect what you said. And if people are noticing their feeds are not inspiring them and getting them happy and excited and joyful and inspired and motivated and excited to work hard, to just kind of take an inventory of like what you're consuming and change that. Because it's as simple as just unfollowing and doing a little bit of a cleanup. Yeah,
clean up. And then also finding things that you do. And it's crazy how quickly it'll change the algorithm. Like I started buying sneakers recently and now my feed
Sneakerhead.
Now my feed is like all sneakers and skiing.
Yeah, totally.
Like 6 months ago, none of that was in my feed. And even like 2 months ago, none of that was in my feed. And now it's just slowly taking over.
I just snowboarded for the first time ever on Friday, and already I'm having snowboard ads on my feed. I'm like, yes, I'm already going to buy it. Chill out.
Exactly.
Our phones are smarter than we think.
Yeah, they're listening right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay, so it's 2023. What are you excited about for this year? Is there one project you're working on? Is there an event? Is there a trip? Is there something that you're really stoked about for 2023?
Honestly, we started it with a bang with this Japan trip.
Yeah, no kidding.
Honestly,
how do you top that?
Like everything before that, like basically after the Buttery Games to then, I was like, all I could think about was skiing 10 inches of powder in Japan.
And you got to do it.
And I got to do it. And so I'm still having jet lag. I haven't thought beyond that. So there's definitely projects that are coming, but I got to wrap my head around it and start to really plan. Because for us, the CrossFit Games season starts and a lot of our community is based in there. And so we just every year we tend to do the CrossFit Games Open and the first couple of weeks of the online qualifiers. So that kind of schedule is just kind of inherently built into what we've done. So now I've got to look at like, okay, what do I want to do in April? I think I might go to Costa Rica.
Oh,
and
fun.
Then I definitely want to do a Lake Powell trip in September, which is, if you've never been to Lake Powell, it's the coolest place on earth.
Sorry, did you just say the coolest place on earth? That's a huge statement.
Yeah.
All right. It is officially added to my list.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to go in the summer.
Okay.
Rent a houseboat with friends.
Okay.
And basically you're just camping on a boat in the Grand Canyon. It's the coolest.
What?
It's so awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, for jumping in a freezing cold river with me, AKA being as psychotic as I am. When you find friends that match your level of crazy, it becomes a lot of fun because you're like, Monday morning, ice cold river. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, let's slide down through snow and get there.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, well, I will have all of your stuff linked below, but is there anything else that maybe we didn't cover that you feel like you want to leave with the audience?
No, I think we covered it.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys know the drill. If you enjoyed today's show, then do us a favor and share it with one friend that you think may enjoy the show, get some inspiration out of it, as well as check the description box down below. We'll have all of Heber's information, links, YouTube channel, the Buttery Bros, all of that will be linked there. So go give them a follow, give them a comment on their last video and let them know that you came from the Evolve with Emily show. And, they'll see it and hopefully you guys can interact there. So thank you guys. And we'll see you in the next episode of Evolve with Emily. Bye, everyone.